Hello, 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 and welcome to VFX and Chill this lovely August 6th Friday morning. I don't know what the weather is in your local area, but that's what I got. Seth, how you doing, man?
Hashi, I'm so good. We are definitely talking right to each other when we do this. I am good, man. I'm excited to dive into... Well, I say I'm excited. I've never seen any of the Venom films. By any, I mean the one that has been released.
What? Spider-Man 3 is the only Venom movie.
Yes, and the only Spider-Man movie, I acknowledge.
Hashtag Topher Grace is my... what's it?
So
Eddie
what?
Brock.
Finish that sentence. Finish that sentence.
Hashtag Topher Grace is the only real Eddie Brock released the... Topher cut.
Our views are dropping.
I know. I'm sorry.
We're watching.
So if you have not gathered, we are here together on VFX and Chill, the show where we try to successfully or unsuccessfully recreate visual effects from recent movies, TVs, things that we see on the interwebs. And today we are going to attack the movie Venom 2, Venom Squared. Let There Be Carnage. So let me see if I can maybe pull up a couple of little bits from this here. So we were watching through this trailer, and they have some really nifty things. They've got tentacles in spades. They've got a new cool bad guy character. Oh, that's the bad guy character right there. This looks like this must be... look at this craziness.
I love this. This is so gross.
That's so
and
it's so
we were talking about
horrible.
this before the show.
Ugh.
It's we were talking about this before the show. Well, we weren't talking about this. This reminds me of one of my favorite movie deaths, which is the Davy Jones tentacle face choke death, where he like chokes the guy while putting a bunch of tentacles through every orifice in his face. Like, it reminds me of that death.
Mm-hmm. It's good. It reminded me of Howard the Duck when the principal from Ferris Bueller needs his little juice, pulls out the cigarette lighter thing and just...
It reminded me of a bad date.
Of a bad date? Wait.
Oh, great. Michael in the Sky.
Oh, Michael in the Sky.
Oh, bad dates.
Oh, brother.
Is that a Raiders of the Lost Ark reference, Michael? Michael?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, there he is.
You guys hear Michael too, right? That's not just...
he's a figment. He was never here. Yeah, it is shocking.
Wait, go back. Can we talk about that tongue?
We need to talk about that tongue.
Okay, let's talk about the tongue. All right, let's see here. Where are we? So we've got the tongue here. Yeah, more about the tongue. What did we want to...
It's that shot right there. So, and again, I don't know what VFX House was responsible for this shot. I did no research whatsoever. This looks like... Michael, you were commenting about how the tongue looks separate from...
Oh, yeah. The tongue is not moving with the head. Like, it looks completely separate from it. The base of the tongue is not having any relation to... Like, it's moving opposite from the...
Yeah, it's definitely good enough for a trailer. It definitely is, like... I think we were talking about it's a temp 2D element, probably with After Effects puppeting going on or something. Honestly, it's exactly what I would do on the show if I were doing that shot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's got a little morphy, warpy thing to it that looks like it's just a puppet pin in After Effects.
And again, right. That's better than what my final would look like, all in all. So,
pretty wild stuff.
Wild and crazy stuff. What I love about it, though, is
that slime is so
that goo, dude. The slime sells all of these Carnage shots for me, especially Hashi. You want to show him the big hero shot that?
Okay,
you are ambitiously going to tackle.
Yes. Well, there was this shot that
from Cheers.
From Cheers. Yeah, Sam.
The series finale.
Whoa.
Oh, it's that goo on the back tentacle that just sells that friggin' shot to me.
It really does.
Goo is
Watch,
so good.
look at this. Yeah, slime.
It flings it.
Oh, that's so delightful. Look at all that grossness.
We need to do like a whole episode. I would 100% do a whole episode on movie goo, like, and obviously with constraints, but Men in Black, Ghostbusters, just a slime
A goo
centric
the slime
episode.
special.
Yes.
Amazing. What now? You're familiar with filming with slime in many of your short films. What are your go-tos when you film with practical slime, Seth?
Well, I don't. No slime that I've done has looked that good. It's not usually disgusting looking slime. The slime that I've done is more like in Plot Device when the alien blows up, and the idea there was just to get. It wasn't about, in this Carnage shot, it's all about like disgusting, organic, almost like horror-y kind of slime,
Yeah.
and which I love. And the with like Plot Device and stuff, it was more about the alienness of like the color, mainly like the idea of especially like Men in Black, for example, is a good one where it's just like, or World's End. Edgar Wright's World's End is a big one too, where like it's like a bloodbath, but it's all blue or green slime. I love that stuff. So like in Plot Device, we used Axe body wash because it was like it's Axe shampoo or body wash because it comes in this like vibrant blue. I forgot whatever fragrance it was, and it smelled delightful. So we threw that on my brother, and he smelled great and looked movie ready, screen ready.
That's a perfect thing to drench somebody with cleaning product.
Yeah.
Amazing. So should we get started? Seth, you said you were going to do something related to tentacles or to the tongue?
I felt I had an idea on how I could do some of, not the tongue. I mean, technically could do the tongue effect the way I'm going to do this.
So I'll film behind.
But I'm going to tell you, I am the least familiar. I'm at this company. I would say I'm the person who is the least familiar with Trapcode Tao. I rarely use it. I never know what I'm doing with it. So I thought I would use it today. I thought I'd use it to make some tentacles. And Hashi, you're gonna try to transform yourself into Woody Harrelson.
I'm gonna try to transform myself into Woody Harrelson. Let me show the few things that I'm gonna try mixing together. So, just real quick, I have so I shot a nice little, green screen, me walking up, and then I think like he kind of opens his mouth right toward the end here.
Okay, pause. You look legitimately badass at the beginning of this, and then it's almost like I want you to comp this into it like a bar, like a western, and I want you to like walk into the bar looking like that, and then before you open your mouth, we cut to like all the guys like turning to look at you from the tables in the bar, and you walk up and stand, and then just go.
Let's go.
And then I don't know what happens next.
Oh, does this mean we're releasing this? Are we releasing this clip to the public just to mess with, and then?
It's so good.
So
it's the entire spectrum of your personality in one shot. Just
it really is.
And goofball.
I'm a little bit badass. I'm a little bit of a dad. Yeah. So we got and the Star Wars. There's so many messages happening here. So I've got this thing here, and I also have let's see if I can find it here. I decided to go over to the old Sketchfab arena and just search for any downloadable Carnages, and there was this this exciting one here, which I downloaded and then sent over to Mixamo because Mixamo is really fun to. Let's see. I gotta refresh it, I guess.
Can you contribute motion mocap animation to Mixamo, or do they have this internal library?
I don't believe so, but if you auto rig a character
it's just an internal library. You can't add to it because it's very specific. Because Mixamo isn't just the library, because a lot of the motions in there have further controls. So especially the emotion ones, it gives you control over the range of motion and how emotional they are, among other things. So yeah, no, they have to do it, and they have not been doing a lot of updates to it, unfortunately. But Maxon has. The asset browser in Cinema 4D has been getting new motion capture data in the past couple months.
Okay, that's enough marketing for now, Michael. Thank you. No, I'm just kidding. That's actually
there are some really cool
information.
Mixamo retargeting things that you can do in Cinema, which are exceptional. I will do a very poor job of doing anything like that, but yeah, if you're not familiar with Mixamo, it is sad. Well, first of all, you could spend hours just trying different mocap.
What is that action?
This is dying from confusion.
From a bad tummy ache.
Yeah, I mean, we could do the whole show just trying
things. They have a Gangnam Style that I think would be fantastic to see.
This would be like our own version of like my other show, the Writers Room Game Show, but instead with no cross promotion. But instead, you're given 3 Mixamo acts and you have to create a story out of it.
I like that. Okay, that's got to be we're gonna have to do a special this summer sometime where we're also doing a bit of storytelling.
100%.
Anyway, I have derailed.
I've seen this one before. Ryan Connolly sent me this one. I don't know if he ever posted it. He did a Cinema 4D test. With this like massive troll twerking in his driveway, and
it's so fun. You can very quickly get stuff. So needless to say, I ended up importing a Mixamo thing into Cinema so I can do some ridiculousness with it. So these are the elements that I have. I'll explain how I did this in a little bit, but Seth, would you like to talk through some of your planning?
Yeah. So starting off, let's do the. And by the way, Hash, I don't know if you saw on Slack, we got some volume requests.
Let's see.
Going on.
Let me see if we can get you guys boosted a bit.
Anyway, I'll just keep talking though. So.
And if anyone from Maxon is listening, no, it wasn't on Slack. He meant in Teams.
Oh yeah, sorry. So I've these tentacles here are pretty cool, and if you look at them, they're pretty straightforward. I'm going to go from this style here, that they are all like blood and muscly colored, and they are like got this organic meaty texture to them, and they are twisted. And so those are like if I were doing a tutorial, I would list these on the screen if I had planned this whatsoever. I imagine those are the adjectives we're going to be pursuing. So let's just get this image in our minds and never let it go. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by, I'm going to show you how to build this effect and how to kind of build a rig like this in a comp without a plate. And then I shot a plate that I think would be fun to. Well, we'll get to that.
That looks like me every time I like swipe the wrong direction in a social media program.
Yes. And suddenly you're there. Oh, to me, it's just like where you, or it's like your legs and the toilet, and you're like, nope, and you throw the phone.
You throw the
out
phone. Buy a new phone. That whole.
Yep.
Whole dance.
So. We start by creating a solid, making sure it's the size of the comp. I'm going to call it Tao so I know what it is. And then we're going to drop an instance of Trapcode Tao onto it. And immediately we get this fun donut.
I love donuts.
And so you can draw a path, draw a mask on here, like draw a path on this solid and tell it to use the path. But actually I'm going to use the path generator that Tao comes with, but I'm going to use a line. And so, first off, anytime there are like point controls in an effect, I immediately want to parent those to null objects so that I can just have the illusion of control, of more control. And so, I'm going to create a null object. I'm going to call this start. I'm going to make sure it's 3D. I'm going to duplicate it and call the duplicate end. I'm going to hit P to make sure the position is visible there. And I'm going to go to these line points here in Tao. Alt-click the timer next to line point 1 and whip it up to the position on the start null and whip it good. And then for line 0.2, drag it up for the position of end. And now I can move these nulls anywhere and they will control that. So now I want to make this a little more like, well, let's see. I'm going to just jump right into the texture. So I want to give this, I'm going to do some stuff like I'm going to change up I guess maybe I can do the segments first. So like this is extruding between some ingons, classic ingons.
My favorite Ghostbuster.
Yes. I'm going to stick to extrude ingon. I'm actually going to, I believe I saved my settings to remember. So
move my mouth closer to the mic.
These segments are going to be how many of these ingons are throughout here. And we don't see a big change when we turn this up here. And that's because it's a straight line. But when we add some turbulence, we'll see. So we'll come back to that. But sides, it's 3 sides right now. It's a bunch of triangles. I could turn this up to whatever. Obviously, the more I turn this up, the more processor intensive it's going to be. So I'm gonna for now put it at like 10. I will probably increase this later for higher fidelity. So one last thing, I'm gonna turn the size down.
Yeah, I saw a question about why not do this in cinema, and I can answer for you if you want, Seth, or you could take that.
Well, because it is more complex, and I tend to be, just like last week with the Sky Donut, I tend to always be in my experience, the simpler solution is almost always the better one. And sometimes the simplest possible way to achieve a really good shot of Carnage as you see him in the film would be to go into cinema and make this. And for some people who are really familiar, super familiar with cinema, and they have a shorthand in there, it might be way easier for them to build these tentacles in there. For me, I'm going to be comping this in After Effects. I know After Effects, and it's just it's a simplicity thing and a comfort thing. And both of those speak into each other as well. Is that a good answer, Hash?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And I mean, additionally, I love using a simplified tool like this and being able to see my result just
exactly
frame by frame right in the thing, and
especially when I'm experimenting and I don't know if it's going to work or not. It's good to be able to have that instant feedback here in After Effects. So I'll do the texture real quick and then I'll throw it back to you. But for the texture, I've got this gross slab of meat. And now we come to our part of our show called VFX and Grill with Hashi and Seth. I'm going to be taking this. What is this?
It's called Carnage Asada.
All right, so this Carnage Asada, I'm going to be taking, damn it, that's way good. I'm going to take that and I'm going to, I've got it from Unsplash, I believe, is where I got this asset. Let's see, is this it? It is. So I'm going to drop that down into my composition, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to...
I'm so uncomfortable.
With what?
With what areas this is gonna no, don't put it on, don't I'm gonna have to sanitize all this stuff. There's E. coli all over everybody's browser right now.
So I am going to scale this guy up to, well, actually let's go ahead and put it into its own comp real quick. So let's call it meat time because I can.
Meat time.
It's always important to have to make some meat time every day.
Every day. So I'm gonna rotate and scale this up to where it's gonna fill the screen and make Hashi just the maximum amount of uncomfortable. Everyone the maximum amount. And whoops! Oh no, I made it full screen again. Sorry. So. If you can believe it, I'm actually going to make it worse in just a second. So that looks like I've got a pretty even cook going on. So I'm going to actually pre-comp it again. And I'm going to apply polar coordinates to it. And this is a little trick, of course, like all tricks that we know, learned from Andrew Kramer. Jack that up to 100%. Duplicate it. I'm going to invert the Y scale of that. So it looks like that. And then I'm going to just stretch it a bit and line it up with...
That's just so delightful looking.
That seems like that should be good. And then drop, I think it was linear wipe. Like a good meat wipe. Transition down to like right about there and feather it. And now I've created a texture that can be wrapped around.
That is insanity.
Something. And so then, okay, well, yeah, so I'll take that. I've got meat time in here. I'm going to turn that off and move it down here. Go into Tao and textures. I'm going to select meat time. And now I've got
don't call it anything. We're gonna COPA fines and all sorts of things when we.
All right, but, I'm not gonna call this meat tube anything.
All right, now.
So why don't this is a great time to go to Hashi now.
Sure. Now, yeah. So to answer anyone in the chat, yeah, I am not vegan. My wife is generally vegetarian. Or maybe pescatarian would be a better description at this point. But yeah, I just it's raw meat. It may be because when I was in I don't know junior high or something like that, I did a science fair experiment with E. coli cultures and raw meat, and that was not cool. It was testing the spreadability and efficacy of different cleaning products. But anyway. So I glossed over a lot of stuff that this kind of stuff that I did earlier. So just to make it really clear, basically from Sketchfab, I downloaded this model of Carnage. I went to Mixamo, where you can basically say upload character, and you just select a file on your computer. In this case, he was an FBX, and it makes it so you can then apply any of these motions to said character. So I'm sorry I'm in the dance category. That's not fair. And it's also cheap. It's done. It's been Thanos twerking and whatever. But anyway, like very cool. You can get these kind of files, and if you haven't played around with Mixamo, one of the fun things it has is things like an overdrive where you can play this in more slow motion so you can get more frames out of it, or you can play with the perceived scale of a character. You can also adjust the character arm space, and so if you have a model it's more like a robot or something and you want to kind of get the arms tighter to the body, you can, or if it's a big ol' hulking Venom kind of character, you can spread out the arms a little bit so they have more of a broad presence. And either way, you then download them, and then you can load them right up in Cinema, and I just applied its original texture to it. So the action that I ended up liking was this one called Sword and Shield Stretch, and it's basically, let me hide the armature here a little bit. So
basically how you start your morning every day, right?
Exactly.
Sword and shield stretch. You grab your sword and your shield.
So
that's the joke.
It's perfect. So what I liked about this is that it had this bit of like kind of he rears his head back and then kind of comes forward. So I liked from like right here to right here of the animation. But I wanted to make some modifications. And one of the fun things about getting to bring in something like this into I've loaded my old Cinema. But I'm such a good product rep, everyone. Yeah, you can always dive into the armature, and in this case, it comes in with a ton of bits and pieces. I really only wanted this little moment of him leaning his head back, but I didn't want the arms stretching out that far because in my comp over here, I want to match it to kind of a arms down and then I just rear my head back, and I'm sort of basing this on this craziness of this action. Like, Woody's not doing a ton performance-wise for, what, while he is still
How dare you?
visibly...
How dare you?
He's not...
It's what's under the hood. There's a lot going on under the hood there, Hash.
He's not doing a lot of physical performance while in human form here. Or physical movement, I'll say. I don't mean to... I love Woody. So check this out. This transition, I can't quite figure out what they're doing aside from lots of expensive CG cool stuff and simulations and bits and pieces. I don't even know if this is real Woody Harrelson. It's probably not as soon as we're to hear, which is wild. So,
or they're or they're projecting onto him. Who knows?
I'm hoping they
geometry.
project, but I'm always surprised when I'll find out, like, oh no, that was totally CG to begin with. And
well, you know what? Hey, our audience maybe they don't want to know. This might be coddling, but I think people don't talk enough about like for the longest time I would watch behind the scenes stuff when they talk about it. So they would shoot this amazingly cool plate, and like we ended up getting erasing everything and just building it all from scratch. I'm like, well, why? It's such a cool plate you shot. And the truth is, like, most of the time it's control. You just have more control when you're able to rebuild it all in post, and then overall, like, make a better final product. But it's like when we shot this, we paid to have this brilliant Buick in Spy vs. Guy, beautiful vintage Buick, and then Aaron Rabinowitz just painted the whole damn thing out and replaced it with a model.
Perfect. So
I'm done. We can get back to work now.
Amazing.
Sorry.
Seth, you let me know when you want the screen back, but I can show everybody real quick. If I wanted to do something like mess with the arms of this existing motion capture file, the way I do it is super hacky, and there's probably a better way to do it, but I usually try to go down and find the joints that I think maybe, could use less animation or something like that. In this case, I'll say these, I'll start with the left arm, and I can just say, let me show these let me show their tracks real quick. And let me see, where did that pop up? Whoops. This is a great demo. Oh, what have I done? I've moved it off of a screen that I can capture.
Right, these moments are what would be very funny to cut to the technical difficulties card that we have. Oh, no. What have I done?
I'm going to try this. Just kidding. Maybe.
I'm dead.
I'm dead.
Oh, look, my head's on your shoulder. That worked out perfectly.
Aw. What? Wait. So we
put the meat up on screen.
The most common kind of animation rejiggering that I do is honestly just to go into the several joints that I don't like the animation for, grabbing all of their keyframes in the dope sheet and then deleting them. And then this is a little bit awkward on one screen fitting them in, but so now I've deleted some of the arm movement right here for the left arm. So basically it kind of stays down during this now. And if I want, I could turn on automatic keyframing and then go through and then find the different joints that I want and just do a little bit of additional posing on them in here. Like I can turn the elbow more down straight to the side like that. And after several of these modifications, I ended up here. So I've added very few keyframes, but I've kept the arms down. I added some custom keyframes on the head, really only like 6, like basically to make
just to give
Carnage's head like this weird, like turn to the side, open the jaw an unnatural amount, and then close up. And then 2 keyframes on the tentacles just so they're down, and then they appear at the end here. So that's kind of...
DJ, let me get 2 keyframes on the tentacles, please. That sounds like
Yeah.
something you say.
2 keys on the tentacles, please. It's like a short order, like at a diner. They'll be like, all right, I need 2 keys on the tentacles, and so lovely. And
speaking of diner, oh no, you keep going.
Oh, so from this point, I then use a cool extension called the File Sequence Exporter, which is a delightful way to export a bunch of cinema or OBJ files that represent every frame of your animation. So you can use them with the 3D software compatible with OBJ or cinema sequences.
Now, why not Cineware?
Now, Cineware and rendering in Cinema would be great for the experienced. I am terrible at rendering in Cinema. As someone who works for Maxon, my year's journey and desire is to figure out from our very talented training team how to better and more confidently render out of Cinema. I could imagine...
Well, there's a great tutorial coming up from Jonas that includes Cineware and a really great use of it, I believe.
Oh, yes. Stay tuned for that. We have lots of really cool Cinema tutorials.
I know, Hashi. For those who want to get more into using Mixamo animations in Cinema 4D, and you have a recent version of Cinema 4D, there is a Mixamo control rig now in there that lets you easily adjust animations from Mixamo natively in Cinema 4D, keeping the original Mixamo animation, but adding your own controls on top of it. There is a link to a quick tip about it in the chat.
Jump over to that link, everyone. See, isn't it amazing? So yeah, Seth and I fill a very specific void of fast filmmaking and trying to get things on screen with as little as possible, low budgety.
Yes.
But
and Michael's here to remind you that you can actually work harder than us.
You could ask professionals
real
how to do
things.
this if you wanted to.
But they're elsewhere.
Yes.
Speaking of being professional, let me show you where I'm at here, and I can bring in. So right now I've got this animation happening, which isn't suggestive or weird whatsoever.
No.
I animated the end null to come across the screen. So now, real quick, let's try to make this less awkward. First off, I'm going to taper this path, the size of it. So I check this taper size thing, and now it becomes this really strange.
Whoa.
I'm going to have a start taper, say at 100. I don't want, actually, wait. 0. I don't want any taper happening at the start, but I want it at the end, and I'm going to actually turn it up to like 95. It's just to give it... let's just say like 88. And actually, I'm looking at this and I'm like, that start null probably needs to be animated a little bit too, to keep it from looking like it's just only stretching. Like it needs to be some stretch and move at the same time. So
that's
other
nice
than that,
looking.
Yeah, nice is the word. I'm gonna do some fractal displacement here. If I turn this up, you see now it starts to get all wiggly.
Ooh.
And I'm gonna do my amplitude like really high, like maybe almost 200, and it looks terrible. Don't worry. Frequency, I'm gonna turn down to something like maybe 37. Is that too much? In fact, I think I turned the size up from where I want it to be. My segment size is supposed to be a little smaller than this.
Yeah, what Seth is doing right now is basically applying a fractal field to do the equivalent of turbulent displace, but instead of 2D, it's actually 3D on this geometry, which is really cool.
Here, I'll bring in a camera so we can start to see. Let's do like 50 mil.
We love you, Game Hacker. We'll catch you next time.
Bye, Game Hacker. So this still looks really creepy and weird, as it should. So I'm going to I want to create those extra tentacles that we had, and then I'm going to do some stuff with the texture as well. It looks like a pencil right now. A couple things. I'm going to turn up the segments, the number of segments, so that when it does like warp, it doesn't look. So here, I'll turn up the amplitude, maybe the frequency, and you can start to see like it's moving now a lot like those creepy like the tentacles.
Oh wow! So it moves right through the fractal field, like
so
it's
turbulence
reaching
is not
through.
animated.
Look at
exactly.
that.
So that
gives it a
that's
great...
getting some more fun.
Ooh.
Yeah. If I animate the evolution, just something like time times 1,000, that sounds like a lot, but it's actually not.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you're just joining us, we are taking a crack at some of the crazy things we saw in the Venom 2 Let There Be Carnage trailer. So Seth is playing with some Carnage-style tentacles, and I am going to try playing with a Carnage-style morph transition.
So before we head back to you, I'm gonna repeat these and make a whole bunch of them. Actually, look, real quick, I'm gonna keep the fidelity. Look, it still looks like a pencil, especially with like the number of sides that I've got on the segments. I'll turn those up in a little bit, but for now, I'm going to keep it at the fidelity it's at. I don't know if that's the right word. And I'm going to go to repeat paths. And on the first repeater, I'm going to type 1. And I'm going to start to mess with all of the randomness of these guys. World position rando. Actually, the segment position randomizer. And these random size.
And so these are still all controlled by the vector of those two nulls, and they extend out. Look at that.
And then it gets real fun if you do this. If you go back up to the segment, to the path generator, I believe, no, segment, and you twist it.
Oh.
Now it starts to get fun.
That's the secret sauce right there.
Oh, that looks so cool.
Wow.
So if you start twist at 0-ish, like maybe right here, and then come over here and turn that twist up, like then you get...
Oh my God, that is such a cool...
really fun looking stuff. Now, something that's bugging me is as it stretches out, you'll notice the texture starts to stretch as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of eyeball it. I turn up the X size. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's stretched horizontally a little bit, so then it offsets it. And
you just keyframe to that value right now, or you just...
I didn't keyframe it. I just turned it up.
Okay,
because
gotcha.
when it's
so
back
when it
over
ends
here...
Because
I could keyframe it.
Well, you'd get some slidey looking thing.
Yeah,
probably.
You're right.
That is really cool.
Yeah, let's go to you and we'll come back and I'll show you some more fun stuff.
All right. So what I'm doing over here is I'm going to start putting together my scene. I went over to PX here, or Pix here, which has a bunch of cool free images, and I just searched for warehouse. I think that he might be in a church or something like that that's being renovated or something, but I like this image. This has the... They
always hang out
vibe.
in like being renovated churches, mid-renovation houses of God. Bad guys love it there.
They do. So
the bad guy in Die Hard 2. Oh, sorry. I'll just think about it.
Villains love irony.
They do love irony.
So
and blasphemy.
Irony, blasphemy, all the other
the other me's.
All the other me's. So I'm gonna rename this comp the scene, I guess. And I took this original footage and then applied a little garbage matte and some Primat keyer, which, as we learned last week, is just where you should always start if you're keying something. So I've thrown my keyed layer into here, and I'm also going to go ahead and grab that church or warehouse interior thing, and I'm going to make both of these 3D cards just like that, and then I'm going to add a camera like this. Let's see, Where's my shortcut for that? There we go. All right, and let's create a new camera. All right, and now that we've got a new camera, I'm going to push the this background way far back. I'll just push it back in Z like this, so it's way back there, and maybe scale it up like this or something, because I'm going to try to do this sort of fake camera move on this thing. Let's first of all extend my scene a little bit. Let's try 6 seconds, 6 seconds long. And from there, let me zoom out all the way and extend my camera and background layers down here. Also, I'm just going to end up disappearing by here anyway, so I'll just clip myself off right there. But the general idea is, now that I have a camera in here, if you see it from the top view, I've got just my one card way back there and humongous, and I got me right here. But it allows me to do something like adding some animation to the position and point of interest. And actually, maybe I'll freeze myself at the end here just so I can see where the camera is moving. Just a little time remap, freeze right there. And keyframed camera at the beginning, keyframe camera at the end. I'm going to have the camera zoom toward me, and then also I'm going to have the point of interest kind of look up a little bit toward this ceiling area, because I'm going to imagine that I'm like kind of growing. So really simple, dumb camera cheat kind of thing. So yeah, so I'm going to go with something like this. And then from...
Oh, wait, Hash?
Yes.
All right. Oh, wait, never mind. I think I'm not seeing the show anymore. Is the show live or?
I think so. People in the chat confirm.
It's still live. We just can't see you on the Zoom.
On Zoom, that's what it is. Okay.
Oh, all right. Am I there?
There it is.
Now? Hey.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Cool. So yeah. So here's me walking up, and it's a phenomenal shot right now. So
it really is.
I will do my classic deal with color correction and things like that a little bit later.
And your classic deal is adding confetti shooting out of your mouth, right?
Yes, that will be the next 1 hour of the show.
Good.
So I'm going to quickly add in a little known plugin called Element 3D. As my way to bring in the carnage that I have animated. So I'm going to go here. Let's see, 3D stuff. Oh, where have I placed it? I have too many folders. Elements, sequence. All right. So I'm going to import this guy. Now, it came in a little weird. And so I'm going to have to do some modifying to him. So we'll start with figuring out why the texture got disconnected. Probably because I'm working across too many locations. But let's see here. What do we got? Where's your texture, Mr. I almost called you Venom. I'm sorry. I bet that happens all the time.
How dare you?
Venom with spider legs.
Have you ever made anything Venom related before?
Never.
Never?
But that technique you were doing earlier looked like it would be really useful. Like if you had specifically for Red Giant shot an entire Venom short parody of the first movie before the first movie came out, with David Hewlett doing an amazing performance and all of your Red Giant team giving you all the support you could ask for, and then didn't finish it for like 2 years until the next movie came out.
Who would do that?
I don't know. What a jerk. If you did something like that. Seth is cheekily referring to the fact that we have a Venom short that was written by me and Seth and Aaron Rabinowitz 2 years ago. And then we filmed it with David Hewlett and a bunch of other friends, and then did not put time on the schedule to do the post. And so we have a short that has been sitting on ice, as it were, for a couple of years. And we would Venom 2 has been doing its best to kick itself down the road so we could release the short in time.
It has one of my favorite jokes that we've ever had in a Red Giant video.
The impromptu one.
What's the It's the one with the gun.
Yes.
That's the one I remember. It was very, very. It was when you exhibited it. Because you directed the show. When you did it for Hewlett on the set.
No spoilers.
All right. There's a gun joke, and it's my favorite joke we've ever done.
And it's great. So yeah, we also found out that so Blake and other people, we are definitely going to think about hoping that we can make that short. The hard part has been allocating resources to do post. Usually that would just be me doing stuff, but I also wanted to make all this other stuff for you guys.
Well, we're still in the first hour the first hour of our show. So according to Chekhov's gun joke, we have to actually show this clip in the second half.
Ooh,
so not sure.
That might happen, folks. It might happen. Two symbiotes in a room. Let's see here. So anyway, what was I doing? I was going to go over to this model and tell it to invert its darned normals, because that's better looking. There you are. So I've inverted the normals, but also this texture is kind of boring. So I'm going to go over to the texture and just do a bunch of modifying to it. I'm going to copy the just this body texture. It's the only one that came with him, but I'm going to apply it as a glossiness and reflectivity layer, but I'm also going to go into each of those layers and just monkey with their color correction a bit. So for the glossiness, I can make it so the darks are all the way down there, and same for the reflectivity. Like, I want them to be pretty reflective, but I also want some contrasty here. So I can just adjust the curves in here a little bit, and I'll do that. And then I'm going to, because it's not very apparent what's going on, let me turn up his glossiness and reflectivity a bit. This won't be very exciting yet, but if I go over to my environment and load something in, let's see, I often go for, I have a nice 360 image of an office and my kitchen. Let's see, what do we got here? I'm going to go with this. This looks a little bit like that warehouse that's the image that I have. I'll darken it up a little bit. So now that is going to be the environment reflecting in this version of Carnage, but he is not nearly reflective and gross enough for me yet. So I'm going to turn up the reflectivity a little bit higher. I'm going to switch out this normal bump for, it's not even a normal bump, that's just its initial texture. And I'm going to go try to find something that I have already on file. So let's go jump into some saved materials here. What do I got? Where am I? Just having trouble finding my stuff. Where are you? Materials. Let's try maybe some concrete maps.
That if Itamar, Melamed, and Daniel Skinner from episode 5 chat are here, you should enjoy the fact that we're doing a Venom transformation effect, except it's Carnage, not Venom. But way back in episode 5, this was asked for, kind of.
Oh, really?
You guys see how much we mean Michael cares about what you guys are saying and recommending. He remembered exactly.
Michael remembers, and it's amazing.
He remembers. He's like velociraptors in that way.
So what I'm doing right now is I'm just applying a bump map, or a normal map to Venom that wasn't meant to go with this model to begin with, but it does give him more gross kind of reflectivity. And I mean, this is this isn't expert level, but it's interesting. It's enough that I could bring in this model and then start to try to add a control null and scale him up and try to start syncing him with my 3D shot, as it were. Let me put
Nice.
this before here. So a rough kind of thing, but basically now I have my 3D character in here with my 2D self, and I'm going to start playing around with that
Very
a
nice.
bit. Seth, can we jump back over to you?
Yeah. So I'm in Photoshop now. I exported that. I exported my meat as a picture, brought it into Photoshop because this is a great diffuse texture, but I need I would like a normal map.
Just a normal
Hashi,
map,
would you explain to the
everyone.
people what a normal map is?
So a normal map is a really cool way to cheat the appearance of additional detail in a fast rendering model. Basically, it's a map of, how do I explain this? It's basically, it's not like a bump or displacement map. But what it does is it lets the lighting know which direction would affect different areas of it differently. And so you can have a high resolution normal map that will punch highlights and darks of a low poly model into the appearance of more texture and detail. Was that, Michael?
Right,
like
you
that's
could
perfect.
probably.
The normal.
Nope, I couldn't have. I
normals-
forgot we have Michael here. Michael.
So in a 3D model, the normal is the direction that the polygon is facing, basically the z-axis of a polygon. A normal map is something that applies on top of polygons and says, sure, that polygon's normal may be pointing this way, but this texture is going to think the normals are pointing all kinds of different directions based on the color. So it's basically like a bump map with more detail. It just says the normal's pointing this way for this pixel, but that way for that pixel. And it uses various colors to say, so the more it is one particular color, the more the normal is facing that direction. And it works basically in Z space. It's basically RGB, but the RGB correspond to X, Y, and Z. And it basically points normals various directions. Essentially, it just, like you said at the very beginning, fakes having a lot more detail in the mesh. It makes it look like a low poly thing is extremely high poly.
Very, very.
You read my mind, Michael. So here's what I'm going to do. In Photoshop, you can actually create. I wish while he was talking, you had slowly scaled it down.
Just out of.
Like Michael slowly pushing Toby's tray off of the table in that episode of The Office. So I'm going to go. I just discovered this today. You can create a normal map in Photoshop. It intuits a normal map from, a disgusting meat layer like this. The layer doesn't have to be comprised of meat or contain meat, but it does help. So there's other ways to do this, but this is like the simplest way because it's me. I go to Filter, 3D, Generate Normal Map. Yeah. And Michael's here to tell us why this is a bad idea, I'm sure, but boom, done. I just made a normal map.
For something like this, it works quite well. Photoshop's guesses. I mean, Adobe also has, if you have the extended version of their package, they also have the Substance stuff now, which also has some neat AI stuff for making.
Which is very cool. I actually did open up a version of that earlier today, but I felt this was the quickest and most streamlined.
Oh yeah. It just works, and if you have a CC without anything extra, it works. It's gonna be perfect for this. I'm looking forward to seeing it applied.
Man.
So I'll apply it then. I've got this meet normal image that I'm going to drop down on the bottom as my background of my really trippy, weird.
Wow.
Is this a callback to last week's episode of Meet Joe Black? Is it called Meet Normal Map?
Oh my God, Meet Joe Black. So
Meet cute.
Meet cute. So I'm going to turn off that normal. It's too much normal for me. I'm going to go down to, I don't believe it's in textures. Say normal map. I'm going to say use meet normal. And then I'm going to literally just crank this up. Let's turn this up to like almost 500. And I'm going to zoom. I'm going to move in here so you can see some detail. And I'm going to start to do some stuff. First off, let me bring in, just so we can see it. I'm going to bring in a point light.
Wait, this all reacts to light too?
It does react to light, but I'm actually going to leave it out of the light. I'm going to leave the light out. I'm going to keep it with Tao's built-in settings. I'm going to go up to material and lighting, and I'm going to change some things. I'm going to turn diffuse up, something like 88-ish.
88 miles
Now
per
remember,
hour, baby.
my process is generally, and Hashi, I think you agree, it's yours too, is to generally pull levers until something breaks. So I am getting weirdly specific in the numbers here, and it's only because this is where the levers were the last time it looked good for me. So
you pull, you turn autosave down to like 1 minute, play until the handle breaks off, and then see what you're doing just before the handle broke off.
exactly. So let's see. Specular, this feels so unnatural. I'm gonna crank this thing up to like something like there, 125. Shininess, I'm an idiot. I still don't understand the difference. Michael, while I do this, what's the difference between shininess? Like why does it look shinier when I turn shininess down? This is this way in any 3D thing. To me, things look shinier when I turn shininess down. Why is that, Michael?
Oh, I don't know.
It depends.
All right,
because...
get Michael out of here.
Yeah, let's just see ya. Oh, see, he could always appear from an icon like that. Why? How...
Oh, look at that!
Man.
He's home. He's in the home icon, isn't he?
But I mean, I'm not sure about that. I feel like it's the difference between like a specular point being smallest when something is shiniest and broadest when something is more diffuse. But I don't know in this case.
Joking aside, shininess is the control, as Hashi says, of the specular highlight. Low values, so less shininess means the specular highlight is larger, which is the shinier something is, the sharper a specular highlight is. So when your shininess is low, the size of the highlight will get bigger, meaning that it's more diffused. It's not as reflective.
Okay.
There you go.
So as the shininess goes down, the specular brightness should also go down to make it more realistic.
Well, so the reason I'm turning this specular up so high is because I want this to look meat to look extra sweaty.
Right, and it's looking great.
And
you don't want it too sharp.
No. So here's some of the fun. Some of the most fun here is a little trick that I showed off. Apparently, a lot of people didn't know about this, and it changes your life if you've never heard of it. I'm going to create a null. I'm going to call it focus null.
Oh,
I'm going to make it 3D. Yeah, it's absurd. The length of time you go in your career without knowing this exists is directly proportional to your unhappiness in life. This is, I'm going to, with focus null and camera, both selected, I'm going to right click or control click or whatever it is your computer does, the focus null. I'm going to go to camera, there it is. Link focus distance to layer. And obviously there's also a set focus distance, which will set it where that null is in that point in time. But link focus distance sets an expression to your focus distance to where it will always be in focus with wherever that null is in relation to the camera. Now, depth of field's not on. I'm going to turn it on now. Here it is on, and I'm going to crank up just to show you what this is doing. Aperture up, so our depth of field is much more shallow.
Whoa.
And now, this focus null, as I drag it on the x-axis, and the y-axis, let me just move it down this area of tentacles. You see that the focus is changing with it. So if I move this thing up close to the camera.
So that's awesome.
Now we see that the tentacles are actually looking pretty good. Oh, I forgot.
Look at that. Wow.
One more thing I'm going to do to really help these tentacles shine, or not really shine, but some curves. I'm going to...
For a second, I thought you were about to apply Trapcode Shine. I was like...
I know. I said it, and I was like, nope, I'm misleading them. I'm going to give that curves a little dippy dip, and then I'm going to go to the blue and turn that down a bit more. And now we're hitting close to the nasty colors of the
that's looking
trailer.
Disgusting.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, also the chat loves your focus null trick.
That is it really is. It's a game changer.
You can also pair a null to your point of interest, your camera's point of interest. So you can have a a null flying around, and your camera will pan and tilt with to follow that null around, and you can parent that null to like moving objects and your comp. So now you see kind of like the rig that I've built for doing these tentacle effects. Made. How the sausage is made. God, that's good. If you can, man, like I love the amount of competition on this show between the two of us, between our VFX skills, but also our pun ability. And you own me every time. All of them. Ba-da-ba! Nailed it. And in OBS drops.
Oh, man.
So next, what else was I going to do with this? I was going to drop it into a shot of.
Let's see. You had a bit of footage up earlier. What is your bit of footage?
I did. It looks. Oh, it's none of this. Maybe it is. Is it this? Is it this? It's not. Just trying to make it the thumbnail. Let's see. I've got this little plate, this little shot that I made. I've taken the liberty of going ahead and pre-tracking all of this.
Delightful.
So let's get it to play out. So, of course, I didn't pre-cache it, but so I step back here, I do the wind up, just like I learned as a child, at least what I remember of it. And I'm going to throw some tentacles from my hand onto the phone. And then I'm going to yank the phone back toward me.
I love how you're bracing yourself on the pillar there.
I fell over.
Whoa.
So phone flies and I catch. And there's my grill. So
wow.
Let's see if it'll play in a little bit better motion. Oh, it's going to keep trying to cache. Hang on. Johnny Cash. Here we go. So this is actually a stitching of a couple different shots. Obviously, if you couldn't see what they're going in slow motion, my little trick here, it's a combo of me doing the motion and then a version where I'm standing right off. Oh, and I just pull it off the window, and I just I actually just keep motion track the motion of this and just add it to a null, and I have my original shot sitting on top of it. I did a little scale to make it look like I'm going toward it, but then it follows that motion real quick for a second.
That's delightful. The best thing about a spinning camera is that it gives you lots of cut opportunities immediately. Like, look at that.
Yeah. So that's me just throwing my phone in the air and spinning it.
I love, interesting that it captures the incremental capture of those lights, of those highlights. Isn't that crazy?
I was fascinated by that.
If I saw that.
You have LED light bulbs, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is that why?
Yes, because LED light bulbs have a flicker to them, unlike incandescent bulbs.
Wow.
Dang, look at that.
It's capturing the strobe of the light bulb.
I didn't know that. I would have called that out in a movie as not enough motion blending samples.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
No, that's LED light flicker.
Gosh, I learned so much.
And then I just, catch it with or don't really catch it. I'm just already holding it and put my mug up there in the shot. So
obviously your plan is to figure out how to animate what you just did, but within the context of this shot.
Yeah. And I've got a couple different nulls. I've got a start and an end null. And I've actually already animated the end null for myself to fly from my hands to up, near the camera.
Cool.
So I'm going to get started on that. And while you continue your transformation into the guy from True Detective.
Sure. So let me show you all what I am up to over here. I have taken this...
By the way, I said the guy from True Detective because I didn't know his character's name. I know that's Woody Harrelson. I'm not an idiot. I just have to make sure. For those tuning in, no. Continue, Hashi. That was just for my pride.
Good. Well done. So I have positioned the Carnage character to somewhat line up with where my face is. Now, one of the things that I love about the transformation is that let me see if I can pull up the actual clip. The face like stretches way out over here to the side, and like these streaks are so cool. I still don't know what I'm going to do for this. I am just trying to get 2 renders. But my goal is that I now have, let me turn him back on. I also added some lights. I've added this top light to sort of match the way the lighting looks in the scene there, and also just a couple of like these might be too much, but I don't want to lose all the detail of Carnage here in the front. But in any case, I'm going for getting this animation to line up slightly with my animation and then kind of end up here. And before you had given us your cool trick, I ended up keyframing my camera focus like a sucker when I could have linked it to a null. So I'm going to pre-render this, and then I'm going to start playing with trying to transition from one to the other. I can also show you all a fun lighting trick that I'm going to play with. Because the original footage had this kind of cool rim that I really liked. Let me bring that up again. So it's got this nice orangey rim on the shoulders. It's nice to separate him from the background a little bit. I'm going to try to simulate that. And the way I'm going to simulate it is like this. I'm going to make a duplicate of my keyed footage like that. And then the easy way to do this would be to jump in and add light sweep.
CC light sweep?
CC light sweep. And
CC.
We talked about this last week. CC light sweep is really delightful because it adds a nice little glint across your logo. But also, if you turn off the sweep intensity and turn up the edge thickness, what you're left with is kind of a cool rim that is conforming to the alpha. Now, you could just go with this, and you could, tint this, in the whatever. See, look at that. We're already getting, it looks a little bit like I've got a rim light there. And that's kind of neat.
Or you could do it with actual good rim light in production.
You could do this in production. In production would have been a great idea. But if you find yourself here having not done that, you can use light sweep. But
it's such a good trick, Hashi.
One of the things that it does, and I'm aware of this, is like this looks, it's like a VHS cover where they couldn't get the actors together to shoot the movie poster later, and they've added on, a thing to try to match them together. So I'm going to go a step
and then a bunch of dust
further with
just
this.
A shitload of snow and dust.
So let's jump to, I'm going to solo just this layer, and I'm going to fill it all in with black, and I'm going to put that before the light sweep. So I'm just getting just the rim there. And additionally, I'm going to add a simple choker. And let me throw this up here too, so I can turn this to a negative value. So I'm bloating out, if you see these two layers together, I'm bloating out this shape beyond what I am here. And a reason to do that is so I can clip it to the same alpha, and it'll have the exact same alpha and not be a very clean edge. And then on top of this all, this is going to be just a filter salad. I'm going to fast box blur this layer out, and then I'm going to add another simple choker, turn that to a negative value, and so I end up with, the more I blur this, the more bloated this kind of lighting thing ends up being. And the reason why I want this thicker than the layer below it is because I'm going to now add itself as a displacement map. So if I use just the original footage as a displacement map, if you look in here, as I do, let me see here. Oh, let me turn off that layer. As I do things to displace, wait, are you using the right layer? Let me just use the luminance maybe. I think what I'm going to get is in little areas like this where the shirt is and where there are distinct lighting differences, I don't know how well you can see that on screen, but it's going to
Vaguely.
displace the pattern of this light just a little bit. So if this were, say, a screen transfer and it were maintaining the alpha, oh, this is a little bit easier way to see it. So let me reset this effect real quick. But now if I'm using my own layer as a displacement map, then I can basically have this highlight reacting to little bits of my footage a bit. So I know this looks really funky, but if I use relatively low values on like the vertical displacement, I can make it and so it appears more on the shirt, but it'll be displaced a little bit where the brightness is, and it just lets it look a little bit more, a little bit less artificial, as it were. So I'm going to, I had actually done this before and it looked better.
A little less artificial, a little more action.
There we go. So here we go. So you can see a little bit better. It looks bad when I'm zoomed in this far, but you can see that it's trying to break up the edge a little bit based on the hair and stuff like that. So it's a little bit more of a broken up rim as opposed to a feathery, Photoshoppy rim. So I'm going to do that. How are you doing, Seth?
I'm good. I'm just shooting this gray thing out of my hand.
Let's see. Oh, that's lovely.
The power of gray line. Boom.
And look, you have a Spider-Man tutorial done right now.
Yeah, done. I actually have a Spider-Man tutorial out there. If you want
Oh.
to find it, I made it with particular.
Man. So look at
Yeah.
that.
It's not very good, but it's cool. Let's see.
I love that
I'm
that
gonna-
is 3D
Huh?
and cool. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, 3D and cool. Well, what really sells this is I might as well just do that right now. Well, I don't have any texture in here. Let me just quickly throw the meat on here.
Threw on the meat.
On the grill. Throw the meat on the grill, if you will. Meat texture. Do. Hey. That looks terrible. Let's check that up. Oh.
It is cool to
So-
see, like in real time, like how quickly applying the texture. Like, look, it's already.
Changes things. I know it's
Yeah.
already like so much further along. So let me turn on depth of field. I've got my focus on here. So what I want to do is I'm going to do a. It's such a cheat, and they're really. I'm not promising to do a good one here, but I'm gonna mimic an autofocus, a phone autofocus.
Oh, nice.
In a second. So once
What is your
hits,
technique for that? Oh, the a digital confused.
like it just suddenly like I'm gonna keyframe the focus null to go from there way up close to the camera real quick, and I'm gonna bring it close and then back and then like a little further out and then back in again, and then I'm gonna drop
the Super 8 special.
yes, and then I'm gonna drop the fast box blur onto my plate and keyframe to match that jazz happening.
That's lovely.
Let's see.
In the background here, I am just trying to separate out and render all of my layers together so I can start playing with the idea of morphing stuff together. So I'm going to be boring for a second. Are you all right being up on screen, Setherson?
Oh yeah, I love being on screen. You
Love
know
it.
me. So the trick to this little keyframe like a mechanical thing here is to give it a few frames to like give each keyframe a few frames to like sit there. So as it like whoop, we want to then hold there for a second and then hesitate, maybe back out a bit,
Oh, that's nice.
and then give that another couple frames.
Even without lighting, that depth of field just that brings it to life for me. It's crazy.
I know it really is crazy. It's like, and honestly, for me, that's what it's always it's always the details. It's not. Yes, it really helps to have like horsepower or whatever the equivalent would be here of like and bells and whistles and multiple passes, multi-pass renders and stuff. But like at the end of the day, what sells the shot is going to come down to a couple small details, and it's not the same for every shot. But once you find what those little details are, in some shots it's depth of field, some shots it's motion blur, other shots it may be something else entirely. But like those tiny little details are what are going to like click that suspension of disbelief on for the viewer, and so.
And I will like among filmmakers, you are very good at those little details. I will say, Seth.
Well, thanks, pal. Well, you are too. I mean, I feel like all of your tutorials are just like targeted, and not only that, it's almost like this is a really weird analogy, but in fact, it's a terrible analogy because it's super vague. I can't even think of but it would be like, in movies where you see somebody fire like an arrow into something, and then that arrow, like all these little like nanobites come out of the arrow and like expand across like the entire person or wall. You like target the Achilles heel of the shot, that one little details, and then you just like explode from there into this, like, here's everything you can do with these possibilities. Well, and there I just horribly and unsuccinctly described your style of tutorial.
I love it.
So let's see. So it shot forward, sat there for a second, went back. I'm going to keep that keyframe a little bit and then come back again. Oh, I was back again. So hang on.
Ooh, delightful.
I'm so confused with what I did. So it was there? No, shoot.
All right. You fixed where you are. I'm going to show everybody what I'm working with over here. So just for simplicity, I have pre-rendered this Carnage render, and I now am just working with 3 layers. Me, the background, and Carnage. And I've removed the camera from the situation. I've pre-comped everything, so they're all duplicates, basically, of that original comp, so they can come together here. And the reason I'm doing that is because I think I'm going to start doing some really weird, warpy, transition-y things with Carnage and me. I like this frame right here.
It's such a good thumbnail right there. It's just you and Carnage, your duet together.
Yes. Karaoke night with Carnage.
Well, we all know Hashi can sing now, so...
yeah, that cat's out of the bag. Hey, okay. Honest answers here. How much of that was auto-tune? Like, how much of that was you?
Oh, I made Mr. Freeze appear. I forgot to turn him off.
Tell me, how much of that was you? Right out of the box.
It was. I recorded it so many times, and it is auto-tuned in that I would re-record just parts of it to try to get like a note to work. And I re-recorded it so many times, everyone. I did too much work for that one.
No, you did not, because it's the best tutorial you've ever done. It's so good.
I know, which is why I'm retiring from tutorials, everyone. But I'm not. I'm not. I'm going to do these until they don't let me anymore, to be honest. But, oh yeah, I forgot my screen's still up here. So what I have a couple of weird theories on what could be interesting to do here. Now, I could do, like a, roughened edges, weird wipe transition kind of thing from one to the other. But I also really want to get those wacky, warpy, stretchy things. And I'm curious what would happen if I tried to use some of the frame blending or automorph kind of things between me and this model to try to bring them out. So yeah. I don't know what is going to happen when I try any of this. But while I try to get that set up, Seth, how are you doing over there?
I'm good. I'm still working on my autofocus.
Still working on autofocus.
I'm about to add it to my background and see what
All right. Well, let me show everyone the simple way that I would normally go about something like this. I would create just a solid. I'd fill it with some fractal noise. I'd turn.
Oh, sorry. I think your Zoom froze for us a few times, but
the stream seems to be not working.
Oh, let's see. It thinks it's working.
Connection's going screwy.
Yeah.
All right. So is my connection going screwy to everybody? Let's
Was
see.
that a question or a request?
Um, if you can hear me in the stream,
Yeah.
let me know.
I can hear you in the Zoom.
Are we back? Hey,
You're
everyone.
coming in and out, in and out.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out.
All right. Not sure where we are. I'm going to attempt to stay here.
We hear you now.
Before I open my mouth here and start to react, I would start to add a keyframe here. And then right about here, I would assume that I am all the way transitioned away like that. So let's add these keyframes in here. And now I just have this solid that is my transition, and I'm going to call out the transition, and I'm going to spell it like however I just did. And
Like, stop sending the Zoom to me. Like, turn off the virtual cam.
I can't
You
tell.
heard me.
I did hear you. I can. We're VFX experts, not Streamlab things. Oh man, do I keep on?
You're not dropping out now.
The problem is you have the Mr. Freeze thing going, and now it's freezing the stream.
Mr. Freeze. Darn you, Mr. Freeze. All right.
Well, I'd love to go another half hour. I just don't know if we can make it work.
Yeah. I'm going to. Yeah. Should I just kill it and we'll try jumping back on for a second?
Michael, what do you think?
I hate doing two parts.
Or going.
So weird. Did you pay the bill? Is James playing Minecraft?
It's probably James playing Minecraft. It's gonna drag him on here. So I believe that at this moment they can hear you. So let's try. Let's see what you got here, Seth.
This is just where I'm at with the autofocus.
Whoa.
And I think it's good. What'll really help it is a little shake, shake.
Mm-hmm.
So
It looks like did your layer? Did your
Oh, it does slip. Yes, I'm going to do a transform scale. It slips because I parented it. This is super ghetto. I parented it to this null that's parented to the movement of the camera because it's just so subtle. I didn't want to have to do and I'm going to choose a preset, my favorite preset, which is Carmount. Good old, named after John Carmount, the founder of of this preset. And I am going to just keep talking until I know that we are no longer streaming. So I want to find
we're back live.
Okay, great. So I want to find that point of contact with the phone. It's right there. And normally for a shake, if it's like an explosion shake, I would tell you to delay a few frames, wait for the sound of the explosion to get to the camera. But at this point, it's a tentacle grabbing the camera. So I want that shake and motion blur the second that it hits. So I've got this. I'm not going to. I've got this universe camera shake applied here with the Carmount preset as a starting point, with some motion blur keyframe to happen the second the tentacle hits the phone. Then I've got this fake autofocus effect happening, moving this focus null back and forth, as well as animating, keyframing a fast box blur effect on the plate. Now I need some more tentacles. So I'm going to go into Tao and do like I did before, where I had the repeat paths. Go to the first repeater and hit 1. And Now I've got several of these. I'm going to do some twisty twisting. So I'm going to start, go back to where these guys kick off. I'm going to go to twist. Where do they hit? They hit right there. So I should stop twisting there. So I'm just going to twist it until something breaks. There's another Office reference for you folks. Let's see how this looks. Huzzah! Yeah, that's not bad. Once I get depth of field on there, it'll look good. And then I want a few extra coming up, slowly slithering. So first I'm going to go over here and do my normal stuff, my normals, my norms. Where is that? Meet normal. Drop that down here, turn it off. Turn on my norms.
But yeah, so it looks like you've gone a long way with multiplying out your tentacles there. You've got some cool highlights. The auto. Oh, how did you defocus yourself? I missed that.
Just some little fasty box blur on the
box
plate.
Blur. Gorge.
Yeah. So like, here's a little look at all the keyframes I've got going on. Got my matched, some motions. You can tell these are where I did some motion tracking. Then I've got the manually keyframe focus stuff here. So
did we also never not even mention E.T. hanging out in the background during all of this?
Yeah, just standing idly by.
I feel like that's anyone. You would normally mention that E.T. was in the corner of that room, but I don't know.
I've become very used to him being here. I am desensitized to E.T.
Makes sense, but
so I could call it right now, and we could just end our episode. I mean, ignoring the fact that the tentacles are not connected to my hand here, but one thing I do really want to do is add some. Well, it's 1:51. We should probably wrap up. I was going to add some extra tentacles slowly slithering effect. Let me just try it. Can I try it? Is that all right? I'm going to
try it. Try it. Yeah, I am going to. I was enjoying where I was going, everyone. And without making any promises online in a recorded setting, I would love to try to finish up what I was doing in a very short, show you all my layers kind of thing. So you all can. All right, everyone. So all that I've done is I've done a very janky this is the beginner layer transition from one thing to the other. So that's just that rough and edges wipe, and also a very complicated feathered linear wipe to just eliminate me from the background there. But I have some weird ideas of some weird liquefy-ish things that maybe could exist in this universe. One effect that I would really like to try out, and I won't be able to make it look good, but there's the smear effect, which is I'd completely forgotten about, which I think is maybe not the smear, CC smear. Is that what I'm thinking of?
Yeah. What would be the difference of smear and CC smear? Smear.
Okay. Here we go. So CC smear, just like the stuff you're doing earlier, has a to and a from position. And something that I was thinking could be cool is if I animated, some versions of look at this.
Oh,
this is scary as hell. And I don't entirely know what I'm going to do, but I think that if I have some instances of smear that jump up and down through this, I can get look at that.
Yeah, that'll help a lot.
I think I can make some weird kinds of things. You're welcome to
watch this for the rest of the afternoon. 100%.
Yes. So I think that if my smear objects are both inside, this body horror stuff is so great. See, every individual frame is going to look great, but it's all about what will happen. Let's see. If the radius is down yeah, look at this. Like you can do bigger or smaller. I think little thing strips like this big could be really cool. So let me see if I want to be able to make an instance of smear that has like no stretching. So a reach of 0. Ugh, if they can go negative, that's so cool. So I want it to have to reach up for a second and then back to 0. So I'll keyframe a little thing like that. So it's just little pops of skin stretching here. And then I can just go through and find a few points that look interesting to stitch together. Like right there, maybe my eyebrow, and then it starts to pull some of my eye flesh or something like this.
Naturally.
So I'll just do that. And then I think if I just take this and duplicate it and press U to reveal my keyframes, then I can just do things like slide another instance of this over, kill its to and from keyframes, but I'll put these ones somewhere else. Like I'll put these down by the mouth or something like that. It'll be grabbing the flesh above my mouth to start stretching.
That's actually the name of my my new book that I'm coming out with.
Oh,
I love grinding our sessions to a halt with my incredibly stupid joke. Like I literally stop the stream. It's worse than when your internet cuts out or my jokes. All right, keep going. I'm so sorry.
So yeah, so I'm just going to do some of this stuff, and I'm also going to try some interesting experiments where I see what happens if I pick like 3 frames from this and then have, let's see, like say I pick this frame where I'm still kind of human. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to call this
our sitcom.
Kind of human, my default. Let's save this as, I don't know.
Hey, I have a weird idea, and I don't know if it's worth it. Tell me why it wouldn't work and why it might be bad. What if you took the layer of you and used it as a map for a color and alpha map for form or particular? Actually, particular is what I would say. And had it... Basically, what if you created a distortion map with particular so that it would dissolve you in a way that went up this way? And actually, you could use that as a displacement map for your face, and it would create some possibly organic natural smears to go into to mix up into all of this.
That's a really good idea. So because I could stretch me out in one direction and stretch Carnage, have Carnage be stretched and then snap back to reality.
Yeah, the way I would have approached this would basically be like a displacement map and have you just distort one way, use that same map and have him be distorted the other way. And then as you distort out, he undistorts in is how I would have approached
why the heck didn't I just do that? That's phenomenal. Man, okay.
Because I think a good thing would be to use all the techniques kind of together to get the overall thing. Like I love the CC smear thing for extreme art directability on top of an overall effect or combination of overall effects.
Yeah, I was curious here. Let me pull this up if I'm still on screen. I have no idea what's
I think you are
happening, anyone. So I'm just going to take 3 frames and I'm going to see what would happen if, let's see. So I'm just taking these 3 frames, this frame here, this frame here, and this frame here. And I just want to see out of sheer morbid curiosity, what, if I turn on the frame blending here, what the computer thinks should be happening in between any of these. So not good, but like Michael was saying, what could be interesting about some of these is that like the way my shirt does this weird, like folds into itself.
That's cool.
Become there is kind of neat.
Yeah, that part looks great.
The face is wonky. It's cool right here for just a second.
That's what they said when I was born. The doctor said.
So yeah, Michael, you have the right idea for the approach, which is just to do a whole bunch of different stuff and see what sticks. Because if I were here, I could easily start like feather laying in some of the cool wonkiness that I'm getting from one layer for like that part of my face, because it looks better than that. And just start combining all sorts of wonky things that can happen to me. So Seth, you're welcome to go back to yourself, because I don't know
to this
quick I could
to this
set
meat
up
tube that I've discovered
the
here.
meat tubes.
Um,
I'm going to try to set up what Michael was talking about. I know we're practically out of time.
This is a meat tunnel, actually, is what it is.
Can we
and it's
land inside one of the tentacles?
by accident, so I kept it here because I had to. But yes, if I move this tentacle over a bit, it's just suddenly we're maximum meat warp. I think I titled our episode. Actually, I'm gonna. What you're doing is way more interesting right now, Hashi. So while I finish this up, I'm actually going to send it back to you.
All right. So I'm
that looks interesting.
Like Michael said, I'm just going back to these three layers. This one, this one, this one. I don't want this linear wipe there anymore. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a copy of my layer here, and I'm going to add some fractal noise on top of it. Like this. I'm going to change it to maybe, let me see what overlay looks like. That's kind of cool. So I'll turn that to overlay. I'll turn up this fractal noise to something like that. So I've got like just this really weird pattern, but it's still also some of my brightness stuff is showing through. I'm going to keyframe the offset turbulence, just move the center point, maybe right to my nose or something. And then I'm going to keyframe that to just broadly as I'm moving, try to kind of have this stretching out a bit and sort of staying in the same spot. Okay, so now I've created this little thing. Not great, not a wonderful track or anything, but let me see what happens if I take my original layer and then add a, let's see, displacement map. And then I'll select my fractal noised version of Hashi with the effects and masks. And now watch this. Oh, that's weird. I wonder if I need to add comp myself over something so I continue. Okay, so what I think I need here, maybe I don't need the detail of my face there. So what if I just had this same fractal noise pattern here on this layer in a normal mode like that, and then had that? I realized that it's clipping at the edges because the displacement map ended there. So if instead, if I were using this one, now if I stretched them up and over, I get a cool like separation kind of thing like this. And now I could go to my fractal noise and try some things like I could rotate the whole shape a little bit, and then I could on uniform scale so I could stretch out the width. Now we're talking. So I'll rotate this pattern. Now it's a little bit confusing because what we're trying to do is I need to pick something that by its ratio is offsetting the original footage up and over in the same direction as the fractal noise is rotated. And let me see if I keyframed these from, 0 to there. If that's a cool, like a TV distortion pattern. See, I'm turning up the complexity. So yeah, I'm getting it's a little, digitally. One thing that might help on some of these things is to add something like a fake motion blur on top of them all and see what it thinks is happening. Could also try vector blur. I know that's a favorite of a lot of people. So if I keyframed the vector blur amount either up or maybe down, pinch everything together.
What might be cool is instead of putting the vector blur on, using to change the map that it's using, and have the vector blur also use displacement map instead of using this layer.
Oh, that's a good call. Like, I mean, that's a creepy looking thing right there. Yeah. See, I should have started with this area. Oh, look at this.
Oh, that's looking so good.
Look at that wackiness. Okay. That's a wild shape. Now, if this were evolving the whole time, let me just add something like a time times 360 to the evolution. That would mean this is all constantly like evolving, right? So not great. But what's interesting about this is that it's the classic every frame looks neat and the animation looks
I hate that.
Looks janky.
Hate when that happens.
But I have a feeling that if this let me see if one of the built-in ones works. Like a pixel motion blur were on here, but turned up to an unrealistic level. Sometimes you can get this weird smoothing factor. Like if I turn down the vector detail, maybe get some simplifications. So, I mean, these weird things that are happening to this layer are pretty cool. And they could probably be more art directed to actually really work with the Carnage layer. Let me see what happens if I copy these two effects to my Carnage layer. Turn on Carnage here, and then I'm just going to reverse the displacement keyframes really quick just to see what this would look like, to see if this was a promising direction to have tried in the first place.
And you need to reverse the direction, the amount. It needs to be a negative amount.
Oh, yes, correct. Thank you. So let's pop in here with the Oh yeah, so that as these pieces that's interesting. So obviously I have not art directed any parts of this, but I just want to see what is happening together. Okay, so maybe what if Carnage were initially track matted to me?
It's a question I ask myself every day.
Or the transition could be, instead of being driven by a wipe, it could be a Lumimat transition.
Oh yeah.
The transitions all throughout rather than a wipe. And just drive it by that same fractal noise.
Oh yeah. So we could use what is it? A
gradient wipe.
There we go. So gradient wipe using oops. So initially it's all the way there, and then by the end is all the way here. I'll turn up the softness a bit. I know this looks like a bunch of gobbledygook, but what I'm trying to do here in super quick there, Michael, you're a genius. Look at that. I mean, I'm getting completely destroyed in the middle here, but look at that weirdness.
That's super weird.
Okay, I do believe that some
Some
artful version of this, like this part is so cool. Like that disappearing here, and maybe this without a track mat phasing in somehow. Does this make sense to anyone?
Yes.
Like between all of these ideas, if you did them over a longer period of time, you would be using some kind of fractal noise as a displacement map for my skin one way, for Carnage's skin, the inverted direction of that, while simultaneously using a linear wipe to bring in more and more of this flesh as I get stretched out. And I would say using masks and stuff would be a better way to bring in. Well, actually, let me just go to my other comp and bring in this transition of Carnage and just throw him on top of everything. So if this weren't soloed, this is a somewhat artful transition that we tried to bring in him, where like the face is appearing a little bit more immediately. I forgot that I'd added position keyframes. Okay. And now it just looks like a morph. But man, I don't want to give up on this. I want to figure this out for you all. At least the lowest rent version of this that could be done. Obviously, the original is a way cool CG transition with physics and liquids and stretchy sims and stuff like that. And yeah, there are talented enough people here at Maxon that could do that, but not
Somebody
I.
just go to the bathroom? I heard a toilet flush. Is that just me?
We'll hope so. I don't know.
Oh, well, just wanted to call it before the commenters did.
Amazing. Well, I'm gonna say like that's I think what I can do with the footage that I got, and I do.
I mean,
appreciate
I think that gives several ideas of directions you could go, and you would layer them together, like
Yes.
that CC smear on top of this to add art directable stuff. Like you'd want your eyes to kind of at least partly go to where his eyes are, and your mouth to go partly where his mouth is, and you could use a smear to make that happen, or liquefying to make that happen in a very art directable way.
Yes.
And then you'd have that more fractally driven stuff kind of as the background to make the whole thing work. So you have art directable pieces, fractal computer generated pieces, and all coming together to make the overall effect. If you had, more than 5 minutes to do it after the stream came back on.
But it's wild. Well, thank you everyone so much for sticking with us through this absurd process.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, it was. I feel like this was a lot of fun, minus technical difficulties, just to see what kinds of things could happen. But yeah, a lot of really cool tricks using Tao to create some tentacles. That is a really wild effect, Seth. And
here's where I got it. It's
it was so cool.
If we're right now, the extra tentacles are slowly coming around and latching onto the camera. I don't have another shake for right there. I should, but it's about to catch this, and then should play the whole thing. We can see how it looks.
Wow. I mean, that is an incredibly lightweight version of highly customizable Carnage tentacles. That's so cool. Like knowing that like 2 nulls is giving you
it's
so
a
much.
little janky toward the end. I'd have to clean it up a little bit, but that's essentially the idea. But yeah, pretty crazy. We made some tentacles out of meat. We made some Woody Harrelson out of Hashi. We made lemonade out of lemons, and a part 2 out of a part 4.
Hey, and yeah, between all that, these could all be little tricks that we try in the event that we try to make a Venom short happen between now and the next little bit.
Oh,
but
speaking of, I think it's important, very important, that you vamp for just a second, Hosh. That's what's really, really important right now. It's really important that you vamp for a second. So talk about something. Talk about anything.
Hashi, that's voguing you're doing?
Oh, I'm voguing. Oh, vamp. About what? Like what's on the channel? What's going on? Check out all the exciting content here on the Red Giant channel, because there's some really cool tutorials coming out soon. If you haven't seen me singing and making a fool of myself, you can check out the latest
you mispronounced star, making a star of yourself.
Making a star. My entrance into the music field with a tutorial and song on how to pencil sketchify yourself, which is really exciting. And yeah, all sorts of other fun stuff. coming down the pike, especially from our 3D folks are putting out a ton of new content shortly. And I'm going to try to make a promise to be able to render stuff in cinema by the end of this year. I think that if I can do it using probably just the tutorials on our channel, you all can too.
100%. 100% you can. You know, I just think, where the heck is it? I think we should be able to easily watch.
Oh boy. if you've stuck around with us
for this long,
then you're in for a treat.
Ideally.
So
here we are. Here is.
Hey, I know that guy.
So allow me to play this real quick. This is just a very quick glimpse of, because of, Chekhov's gun joke, we have to show my favorite joke in this video that has yet to be released. Is that okay, Ash?
Yes, this is the context is that this is a short about what it would be like to be roommates with Venom, which turned out to be, though we made this 2 years ago, the joke was that it would be horrible to be roommates with Venom and all the stuff that you would have to deal with. And then that is exactly what the initial teaser for the second Venom was.
Yeah.
Almost some of the exact same shots and gags. So
yep.
Very, very exciting to know
that they didn't have this joke. That's the joke. It's so dumb. But when I saw you on set, you're like, so I'm thinking it's like this, and you held up the shirt, and then you went and then you slowly slipped it away to reveal the gun that none of us knew you had in your hand. So funny. Oh my gosh. Man.
Just the unfolding series of shenanigans. Being Venom's roommate.
That you would pick up a shirt and not know you also picked up a gun is also just really, really great. Oh, man. That was such a tiny little apartment we were all crammed into, and it was like a full crew, and we had to turn the AC off because of sound, and it was maybe the hottest day of the year so far in Los Angeles or in the Valley.
It was a wild, it felt like all day from multiple locations trying to get from one place to the other. It was wild, but a lot of people worked really hard. So I do hope that this comes together.
It will, in pieces, slowly over the course of VFX and Chill episodes.
We'll release 3 shots per VFX and Chill episode
with Seth talking over
7 years.
Man, thank you everybody for coming,
Amazing.
For watching. Hashi, thank you for working out the internet issues. Michael, great Michael in the sky, thank you for everything. I don't know where you are in my OBS thing right now, so I'm just gonna wish you goodbye and good luck, and we will.
I enjoyed the meat tubes.
Yes, the meat tubes. We come for the VFX, stay for the meat tubes. Good night, everybody.